The door clicked shut behind him, and the silence he left behind felt heavier than the room itself. Ava stood still for a moment, her fingers wrapped tightly around the edge of the cleaning cart. She had seen all kinds of guests in this luxury hotel. Kind ones, rude ones, forgettable ones. But something about this man felt different from the start. He wasn't loud. He didn't make a mess. He barely spoke. Just a quiet millionaire who stayed for one night in the most expensive suite and walked out without leaving a single tip. For most people, that wouldn't matter. But for Ava, every tip meant groceries, school fees, or medicine for her little daughter waiting at home. She worked double shifts, smiled through exhaustion, and still struggled to make ends meet. So when she checked the table again, hoping maybe he had left something behind, her heart sank. Nothing, not even a coin. She let out a slow breath, pushing back the disappointment. "It's okay," she whispered to herself. "Just another day." But as she began cleaning the room, something didn't feel right. The room was too perfect, too untouched. The bed was barely wrinkled, the bathroom spotless, and even the trash bin was empty. It was like no one had stayed there at all. Her eyes moved slowly across the room, searching for anything she might have missed. That's when she noticed it. A small fold in the bedsheet near the pillow. It was so slight that anyone else might have ignored it. But Ava had cleaned thousands of rooms. She knew when something was out of place. Her hands hesitated for a second before reaching out. She lifted the pillow and froze. There, tucked neatly underneath, was a piece of paper. Her heart started beating faster. Guests sometimes left notes, complaints, thank you messages, even instructions. But this felt different. The paper wasn't crumpled or casual. It was folded carefully, almost like it was meant to be found, but not too easily. Ava looked toward the door, as if expecting someone to walk back in. No one did. Slowly, she unfolded the note. At first, it looked like a simple message, but as her eyes moved across the words, her expression changed. Confusion, then shock, then something deeper. Fear, maybe. Her hands began to tremble. "This can't be," she whispered. The note wasn't a thank you. It wasn't a complaint. It was something else entirely. Something personal. Something that mentioned her name. Ava's breath caught in her throat as she read the last line again. Tried to understand how a complete stranger, a quiet millionaire who didn't even leave a tip, knew something about her, something no one else in that hotel should have known. And just as she turned the paper over, hoping for answers, her phone rang. Unknown number. The room suddenly didn't feel empty anymore. The phone kept ringing, sharp and out of place in the quiet room. Ava stared at the screen, her heart still racing from what she had just read. Unknown number. For a second, she thought about ignoring it, but something deep inside told her this wasn't random. Her fingers slowly moved, and she answered. "Hello?" There was a pause. Not silence, just a faint sound of someone breathing on the other end. "You found it," a calm male voice finally said. Ava's grip tightened around the phone. "Who is this?" "You already know," the voice replied, almost gently. Her mind flashed back to the man who had stayed in the suite. The quiet millionaire. The one who left no tip, but somehow left behind something far more unsettling. "How do you know my name?" she asked, her voice lower now, cautious. Another pause. "Because this isn't the first time I've seen you, Ava." A chill ran down her spine. She instinctively looked around the room again, as if someone might be watching her even now. "That's not possible," she said quickly. "I would remember." "Would you?" he said. "You see hundreds of faces every week. People come and go, but some people notice more than they should." Ava didn't respond. Her mind was racing, trying to connect pieces that didn't fit. She had been working at the hotel for almost 3 years. She kept her head down, did her job, avoided trouble. She wasn't someone who stood out. At least, that's what she thought. "What do you want?" she finally asked. "Nothing from you," he said. "Not yet." The way he said it made her stomach tighten. Her eyes dropped back to the note still in her hand. The words felt heavier now, like they meant more than she first realized. It wasn't just a message. It was a warning. Or maybe an invitation. "You shouldn't have left that," she said, trying to sound firm. "If this is some kind of joke." "It's not a joke," he cut in, still calm. And I didn't leave it for you to ignore. Ava swallowed hard. Then what is it? There was a longer silence this time. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. A second chance. The words didn't make sense. I don't understand. You will, he said, but not here, not in that room. Her pulse quickened. What does that mean? Before he could answer, there was a sudden noise from the hallway outside. Footsteps, voices, something moving quickly past the door. Ava turned her head toward it instinctively, and in that brief second the call ended. She pulled the phone back to her ear. Hello? Hello? But it was gone. The room felt colder now. Ava stood there, frozen, trying to steady her breathing. None of this made sense. A mysterious millionaire, a hidden note with her name, and now a phone call that only left her with more questions. She looked down at the note again, this time reading every word more carefully. There was something she hadn't fully noticed before. A small line at the bottom, almost like an afterthought. A time and a place. Her heart skipped. It wasn't random. It was specific, and it was for tonight. Ava folded the note slowly, her mind filled with doubt and fear. She should report this, tell her manager, walk away from whatever this was. But something stopped her, because deep down, beneath all the confusion, there was a strange feeling she couldn't ignore. Like this wasn't the beginning of the story. It was something she had already been a part of without even knowing it. And if she chose to follow that note, there might be no turning back. Ava didn't tell anyone. All through the rest of her shift, she moved like she always did, quiet, focused, invisible. She cleaned rooms, changed sheets, smiled politely when guests passed by. But inside, nothing felt normal. Her thoughts kept circling back to the note, the phone call, the way that man had said her name like he already knew her story. By the time her shift ended, the sky outside had turned a soft orange. She stepped out of the hotel, the evening air brushing against her face, but didn't calm her. Her hand slipped into her pocket, touching the folded note again just to make sure it was still there. A time, a place. Tonight, she could go home, she told herself. Forget everything. Cook dinner. Help her daughter with homework. Pretend none of this happened. That would be the safe choice. But safe choices had never really changed anything in her life. Ava started walking. The streets were busy, people moving in every direction, cars passing, vendors calling out. It all felt normal on the outside, but for her, everything seemed slightly off, like she was walking towards something she couldn't see yet. As she walked, her mind drifted back to the past. Small moments she had never thought much about. Times when she felt like someone was watching her. A guest who looked at her a little too long. A conversation she overheard but didn't understand. She had always brushed it off. Now, it didn't feel so random. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't an unknown number. It was her neighbor, checking if she was coming home soon. Ava stared at the screen for a moment before replying with a short message. I'll be a little late. She hated sending that. Her daughter was used to waiting. But Ava had promised herself she wouldn't let work take over everything. Yet here she was, choosing something unknown over certainty. As she reached the location written on the note, she slowed down. It wasn't what she expected. It wasn't a rich area or a fancy building tied to a millionaire's world. It was quiet, almost forgotten. A narrow street with dim lights and a few closed shops. The kind of place people pass by without noticing. Ava stopped a few steps away, her heart pounding. This doesn't make sense, she whispered. Why would someone like him choose a place like this? She looked around carefully. No sign of the man. No expensive car. No clear reason for her to be there. For a moment, she thought about turning back. Then she noticed something. Across the street, near a flickering light, there was a small security camera fixed to a wall. Old, slightly tilted, but pointed directly toward where she was standing. Ava's breath caught. Was she being watched right now? She instinctively stepped back, her eyes scanning the area again. That uneasy feeling from before returned, stronger this time, like she had just walked into something much bigger than she understood. Behind her, a door creaked open. The sound was soft, but in the quiet street, it felt loud. Ava turned slowly. An old building stood there, its paint faded, its windows dark. The door was slightly open now, just enough to show a narrow hallway inside. No sign, no name, just an open door. Her heart raced. "Is this it?" she whispered. She waited, hoping someone would step out, explain everything, tell her she wasn't making a mistake. No one came. The street remained still. Ava looked down at the note one more time, then back at the door. Whatever this was, it wasn't simple. The millionaire, the hidden message, the phone call, it all felt connected, but the answers were just out of reach. And now, standing in front of that open door, she had a choice. Walk away and never know the truth, or step inside and risk everything changing. Her hand slowly moved toward the door, and just as her fingers touched it, a voice came from behind her. "Ava." She froze. Ava didn't turn right away. Her fingers were still resting on the edge of the door. Her breath caught somewhere between fear and curiosity. That voice, it was familiar. Calm, controlled, the same voice from the phone. Slowly, she turned around. He stood a few steps behind her, just outside the circle of light. The same man from a hotel, dressed simply now. Nothing like the quiet millionaire who had checked into the luxury suite. No expensive watch, no polished shoes. Just a plain shirt, dark pants, and eyes that seemed to be watching everything at once. "You came," he said. Ava swallowed, forcing herself to stay steady. "You made sure I would." For a moment, neither of them moved. The street remained quiet, almost too quiet, like the world had pulled back just to leave space for this moment. "You shouldn't be here," she added, her voice low but firm. "If this is some kind of game." "It's not a game," he said again, stepping a little closer. "And you're not here by accident." Ava let out a short breath, shaking her head. "Then explain it. The note, the call, how you know my name, none of this makes sense." His gaze shifted briefly toward the open door behind her, then back to her. "Because this didn't start today," he said, "and it won't end here." Her chest tightened. "Then when did it start?" He hesitated, and for the first time, Ava saw something change his expression. Not fear, not exactly, but weight, like whatever he was about to say carried more than just answers. 3 years ago," he said quietly. Ava's mind raced. 3 years ago, that was when she started working at the hotel, when everything in her life had shifted after her husband left, when she had no choice but to take whatever job she could find. "I don't remember you," she said quickly. "I know," he replied. "You weren't supposed to." The words landed heavily. Ava took a step back. "What does that mean?" Before he could answer, a sudden movement caught her eye. At the end of the street, a car turned the corner. Its headlights cut through the dim light, moving slower than usual, like it was searching or watching. The man noticed it too. His posture changed instantly. "They're early," he muttered under his breath. Ava's heart skipped. "Who?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped closer to her, lowering his voice. "You need to listen carefully," he said. "If you walk away now, you might be safe for a while. But if you want the truth, if you want to understand why your name was on that note, you have to trust me." Ava stared at him, her mind torn in every direction. Nothing about this felt safe. Nothing about him felt simple. "And if I don't trust you?" she asked. The car slowed further, its engine low, almost quiet, but close enough now to make the tension feel real. "Then they'll find you anyway," he said. Ava's breath caught. The car stopped at the far end of the street. The doors didn't open, but the engine stayed running. The man glanced toward it, then back at Ava. "We don't have much time." Her pulse was pounding now. "You still haven't told me what this is about." He looked at her, really looked this time, like he was deciding something important. "It's about what you saw," he said. Ava frowned. "I didn't see anything." "Yes, you did," he said. "You just didn't realize it mattered." Her thoughts scrambled, tried to pull up any memory, any moment that could explain this. 3 years ago, he continued, a guest stayed in that same suite. One night, no record after that. No checkout, no trace. Ava's stomach tightened. "And you," he said softly, were the last person to enter that room. The street felt like it tilted beneath her. "That's not possible," she whispered. "But Deep down, something stirred. A faint memory. A room that felt too quiet. A moment she had forgotten, or maybe chosen to forget. The car door suddenly opened. Ava flinched. Two figures stepped out, their faces unclear in the low light, but their focus unmistakable. On them, the man's voice dropped to almost a whisper. If they get to you first, you won't get answers. Ava's heart was racing so fast it hurt. The open door behind her, the unknown men ahead, and the truth somewhere in between. Decide, he said. And in that moment, Ava realized, whatever she chose next would change everything. Ava didn't think anymore. Her hand pushed the door open, and she stepped inside. The man followed immediately, pulling the door shut behind them just as the sound of footsteps echoed outside. For a second, everything went dark. Then a faint light flickered on somewhere deeper in the hallway, casting long shadows across cracked walls and dusty floors. Ava's breathing was uneven. You said they'd find me anyway. Who are they? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he moved quickly down the narrow corridor, motioning for her to follow. We don't have time to explain everything out there. That's all you've been saying. She shot back, but she followed him anyway. The building felt abandoned, but not empty. There was a strange tension in the air, like something had happened here, something that hadn't fully settled. As they reached the small room at the end of the hall, he stopped and turned to her. This is where it changes, he said quietly. Ava frowned. What does that even mean? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object, an old key card, a hotel key card. Ava's eyes widened slightly. It looked familiar, too familiar. This card was never checked out properly, he said. It belongs to that guest from 3 years ago. Ava's chest tightened. The one you said disappeared? He nodded. Officially, yes, but that's not the truth. Ava shook her head slowly. Then what is... Before he could answer, a loud noise echoed from the hallway. Someone trying the door they had just come through. Ava's heart jumped. They're inside. The man's expression hardened. We don't have time anymore. He stepped closer and placed a key card in her hand. The moment her fingers touched it, something strange happened. A memory. Quick, sharp, a door opening. That same luxury suite. Ava standing inside, holding fresh towels. And someone sitting in the corner, not moving. Her breath hitched as she pulled back slightly. I remember, she whispered. The man watched her carefully. What do you see? I was in the room, she said, her voice shaking. But there was someone there. I thought they were asleep. Her hand trembled around the card. They weren't asleep, he said quietly. Ava looked up at him, fear creeping into her expression. What are you saying? Another loud bang from the hallway. Closer this time. They're going to come through that door any second, he said. So listen to me carefully. Ava's heart was pounding so loudly she could barely focus. You didn't just clean that room 3 years ago, he said. You walked in on something you weren't supposed to see. Her stomach dropped. And someone else knew you saw it, he continued. Ava took a step back. No, if that were true, something would have happened to me already. He held her gaze. Something did happen. The words felt heavier than anything else he had said. Ava's mind struggled to catch up. What do you mean? Before he could answer, the door at the end of the hallway burst open. Footsteps rushed in. They were out of time. The man grabbed her arm, pulling her toward a second door hidden behind a broken shelf. We move now. Ava resisted for a split second. You said something happened to me. What was it? He stopped just long enough to look at her, his voice lower than ever. They made sure you forgot. Everything inside her seemed to freeze. The missing memory. The strange feeling that this wasn't the beginning. The way her name was written in that note like it had always been part of something bigger. Another memory flashed. This one stronger. A voice from the past. Telling her to leave the room. Telling her to forget what she saw. Ava gasped, stumbling slightly as the realization hit her. This isn't just about a missing guest, she whispered. No, he said. It's about why they disappeared. The footsteps were right outside now. The air felt tight, suffocating. Ava looked at the hidden door, then back at him. And you? She asked, her voice barely steady. Who are you in all this? For the first time, He didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, "I was there that night too." Ava's eyes widened. Before she could respond, the handle of the room door started turning, and in that moment, the truth felt closer than ever, but also more dangerous than she could have imagined. The handle snapped down, and the door burst open. Ava didn't wait this time. She followed him through the hidden door, just as footsteps rushed into the room behind them. The passage was narrow and dark, forcing them to move close, almost stumbling as they pushed forward. Her heart pounded, so hard it felt like it might give her away. "Keep going," he whispered. They reached the end of the passage and stepped into another room, smaller, cleaner, like it had been used recently. The man shut the door quietly and turned to her. "This ends now," he said. Ava shook her head, breathless. "Then tell me everything. No more pieces." He nodded once, like he had been waiting for this moment. 3 years ago, that guest didn't disappear, he said. He was being watched, investigated. He had evidence, something big, something that could expose people who were using places like that hotel to move money, hide deals, dangerous things. Ava's mind raced. "And I walked in on that?" "Yes," he said. "You saw him with someone else. Someone he wasn't supposed to meet." Ava's chest tightened as the memory sharpened. The man in the room hadn't been alone. "There was another person," she whispered. He nodded. "That second person realized you saw them." Ava stepped back slightly. "So they came after me?" "Not the way you think," he said. "You were just a maid, a single mother, easy to dismiss. So instead of making noise, they made a decision." Ava felt cold. "To erase it." He looked at her. "They made sure you forgot. Quietly, cleanly. No report, no questions." Her head spun. "That's not possible." "It is," he said. "And I know because I was there trying to stop it." Ava stared at him. "You said you were there that night. Who are you, really?" Before he could answer, the sound of footsteps returned. Closer, slower this time, like they knew exactly where to go. "We're out of time," he said, "but you deserve the truth." He took a breath. "I wasn't just a guest," he said. "I was working with the man in that room. We were trying to expose everything, but we underestimated how far they would go." Ava's heart dropped. "So you ran?" His expression hardened. "No, I stayed, and I've been trying to fix it ever since." The door behind them rattled slightly. "They're here," Ava whispered. He nodded, then listened carefully. "The note I left you, it wasn't just to bring you here. It was to bring back your memory, because you're the only one who saw his face clearly." Ava's breath caught. "The person with that guest, you saw them," he said. "You just didn't remember." The memory hit harder this time. Clearer. The room. The quiet tension. And then a face. Familiar. Too familiar. Ava's eyes widened as the truth slammed into her. "No," she whispered. The door burst open behind them. 2 men stepped in, but they weren't rushing this time. They moved calmly, like the chase was already over. And behind them, another figure stepped forward, well-dressed, calm, composed. Ava's hand started shaking. She knew him, not from 3 years ago, from now, from the hotel. Her manager. He gave a small, almost polite smile. "Ava," he said softly, "you should have gone home." The room felt like it collapsed inward. "You," she whispered. He nodded slightly. "I was wondering when this would come back to you." Ava's chest tightened, anger mixing with fear. "You were in that room." "Yes," he said simply. "And you weren't supposed to remember." Silence filled the space. Ava looked at the man beside her, the one who brought her here, the one who said he was trying to fix things. "You knew," she said. "I suspected," he replied, "but I needed you to confirm it." Her stomach dropped. "So all of this was to use me?" Before he could answer, her manager spoke again. "It doesn't matter anymore," he said calmly. "You've already seen too much." The tension in the room tightened, every second stretching longer than the last. Ava's mind raced, but this time something shifted. She wasn't confused anymore. She wasn't afraid in the same way, because now she knew the truth. The millionaire who left no tip, the secret note, the missing memory, it all led here. She took a slow breath, her voice steady despite everything. "You made one mistake," she said. Her manager raised an eyebrow slightly. "And what's that?" Ava looked him straight in the eyes. "You thought I wouldn't remember everything." For a brief moment, something flickered in his expression, and in that moment, everything changed. For a brief second, no one moved. Ava's words hung in the air, steady and unshaken. The fear that followed her all evening was still there, but it had changed. It wasn't controlling her anymore. Her manager studied her carefully, the faint smile on his face fading just a little. "Memory can be unreliable," he said calmly. "People see what they think they saw." Ava shook her head slowly. "Not this time." She took a step forward, her voice gaining strength. 3 years ago, I walked into that hotel suite and saw you with him. You weren't just talking. You were taking something from him. Documents to drive, something he didn't want to give. The room stayed silent. The man beside her, the one who had brought her here, watched closely, saying nothing. "You told me to leave," Ava continued. "You said it was none of my business. But I didn't leave right away. I saw his face. I saw yours. And that's why you made sure I forgot." Her manager's eyes narrowed slightly. Not denial, just calculation. "And now you remember," he said. "Yes," Ava replied. "And I'm not invisible anymore." That line shifted something. For years, she had been just a maid. A single mother working long hours in a luxury hotel, unnoticed by most people who walked past her. But now, standing there, she wasn't the same person. She knew the truth, and so did they. The man next to her finally spoke. "It's over," he said quietly. "You can't keep this hidden anymore." Her manager let out a slow breath, glancing briefly at the men behind him. The tension in the room didn't explode. It settled, like something coming to an end rather than a fight beginning. "You always thought this was about exposure," the manager said, looking at him. "But you never understood the whole picture." "Then explain it," Ava said. He looked back at her, and for the first time his tone softened, not with kindness, but with something closer to honesty. "That guest wasn't innocent," he said. "He was part of the same system, the same network. He just decided to turn against it at the wrong time." Ava frowned. "So you—" "I made sure nothing collapsed," he said simply. "That's all." The words didn't feel like a justification, just a fact, the way he saw it. Ava tightened her grip on the note still in her hand, the same note that had started everything. "And me," she asked, "what was I to you?" He didn't hesitate. "A risk." The honesty hit harder than anything else. But instead of fear, it gave her clarity. Ava nodded slowly. "Not anymore." Silence followed. Then something unexpected happened. The man beside her stepped forward, placing himself slightly between her and the others. Not aggressively, just enough to make a point. "It's done," he said again. "She remembers. And so do I." For a moment, it felt like everything could go in any direction. But then the manager looked at Ava one last time, his expression unreadable. "You should go home," he said quietly. This time, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a decision. Ava didn't argue. She didn't wait. She turned and walked toward the exit, her step steady, her heart still racing but no longer lost. Behind her, no one followed. The night air hit her face as she stepped back onto the street. The same street that had felt so dangerous earlier now felt different. Not safe, not simple, but real. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her neighbor. "Ava, your daughter is asking for you." Ava closed her eyes for a second, letting out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "I'm on my way," she said softly. As she walked home, the city lights flickered around her, and the weight of everything slowly settled into something she could carry. The millionaire who left no tip, the secret note, the hidden truth inside a hotel room, none of it had been random. It was a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked person can hold the truth, that silence doesn't mean safety, and that sometimes the real value isn't in what someone leaves behind on a table, but in the truth they risk everything to reveal.